What comes in threes? Well, trilogies, some please and some see three kids wistfully, whimsically fleeing the scene of scenes we see objectively yet subjectively reeling in this, the game of threes we see. What then of fours, fives, sixes, sevens, and sometimes eights? What then of centaurs, hives, jinxes, heavens, and sometimes snapes? Sure, I joke and jape the weight of Snape away, but sure, I poke and escape the weight of this great caper away thus. But a trilogy for me, this flees, and while death may eat these fleeing children fleeting, no, it seems their screams, we in the shadows know that these dreams of unassuming means mean dreams of unassuming teens can mean more than we have yet seen in our dreams. But what does this mean? It means that Harry, Ron, and Hermione have all the time they need. Because Dumbledore gave a kid time travel, and that's an incongruent decision to the fabric of your world building. Here is a disclaimer about what this video is and isn't. It is a video dissecting the historical relevance of what might appear on the surface to be an innocuous and visually extravagant entry in a popular wizard franchise. It is not, in any way, a comparison between the book and the film. I know you may have grievances, but they will not be aired here. This is a film show, not a book dumpster. Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban is a 2004 film from Alfonso Cuaron. Oh, that's new. Based on the screenplay by Potter lifer Steve Kloves, adapted from the book by J.K. Simmons. Yeah, I'm gonna stick with that. It's the third movie in the Harry Potter series, and it's fun to watch because everything looks more blue this time. Hope you enjoyed my review. Like and subscribe to my channel and buy a bunch of shit from audible.com. Thank you. Audible.com. We bought all of your YouTube shows. Somehow. It's going to be difficult for me not to hyperbolize what I feel the importance of this film is in the pantheon of American cinema. From my perspective, which many of you may soon share after this video, Azkaban broke practically every rule that traditional Hollywood wisdom said about big film franchises at the time. Hang on to your butts. This gets weird. To take a trip in the somewhat way back-ish machine, Christopher Columbus, yes, Home Alone Christopher Columbus, was the director of the first two films. At the time, the prevailing sentiment was an excitement for Columbus to stay on as director through, at the time, all 7 films, pulling off something no big studio had ever dreamed of with a franchise. And before you scoff at that, he was signed to do so and only went back on it when he realized that he wasn't going to see that much of his children as they grew up over the films. You were this close to getting 8 Chris Columbus Harry Potter movies. And big ups where B-ups are due because Christopher Columbus cast the Harry Potter world so well that almost all of the actors lasted for all 8 films, which might not seem like that big of a deal, but just remember that Game of Thrones has already had 3 Mountains, 2 Tomans, 2 Marcellas, and 2 Darios, and its run has only been 6 years so far, and Harry Potter spanned 10 and had more actors. And with Columbus out, the search was on for a new director for Azkaban. And keep in mind, Columbus leaving was a shock, and numerous news outlets were proclaiming that this could be the end for Harry Potter and throwing up the caution flag to other studios about taking on commitments this large. And to be fair, not a lot of directors want their name associated with the death of a franchise. I'm looking at you, Snyder! It's time for a round of other directors considered for this installment of the franchise as weighed against their likeliness to kill a franchise based on actual data. Kenneth Branagh, who knocked his Marvel debut Thor right out of the park, but Jack Ryan Shadow... Oh, crap. Shadow Boys? Shadow Recruit. I knew that. Sorry. It was Jack Ryan Shadow Recruit. I think that proves my point, though. Branagh killed one franchise, and that's a point for you, and you don't want points. And that brings us to Callie Curry, the writer of Thelma and Louise, and really her only major directing credit is The Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants. So I don't think Azkaban would have been quite the same movie. And Guillermo del Toro, which he just gets a pass because he's cool and he just didn't want to do it, so He's out. Mark Forster, director of Finding Neverland, Monsters Ball, Quantum of Solace, that's a franchise point, and World War Z, boom, second point. What's funny is Forster only turned down the job because he didn't want to work with child actors again after Finding Neverland. Okay, and last but definitely least, M. Night Shyamalan was offered the role but turned it down to direct The Village. And his score is 1, by the way, because of that. Enter Cuaron, a man who has never read any of the books or seen the films, and he'd only at that point made 3 major films known in the West: Great Expectations, Little Princess, and Y Tu Mama Tambien, which are 3 fantastic films, but only one of which is a children's film, and one of the other ones is a beautifully shot meditation on the burgeoning sexuality of youth, which is probably good they didn't do that with this movie. I mean, this was a risk bringing in Cuaron. I don't think anyone could have guessed what he was going to produce and how instantaneously it would affect the fabric of the Harry Potter landscape. In the fewest possible words, Alfonso Cuarón made Harry Potter cool. Gone was the stuffiness of Hogwarts, replaced with enchantment and danger. Magic is awesome, but don't ever forget that it can kill you. Gone was the bland, immobile tripod imprisoned camera work of the Columbus administration, replaced with the wildly creative floating omniscient camera of the man that would go on to make Children of Men in Gravity. Gone were the perfect school uniforms of a perfectionist costume department. In fact, Cuarón basically told all the kids to dress themselves, and when they were like, "I don't know how to tie a tie though," Cuarón was like, "Yeah, I know." And it went further too. He let the kids decide if they tucked in their shirt or not, whether they'd wear their robe to class or not, or if they even bothered to tie them closed at all. Cuarón was the person that made Hogwarts actually feel like a school inhabited by, kids. He also made the decision to have our 3 main stars in real-world clothes as much as possible to do some much-needed work on differentiating their personalities in subliminal and purely visual ways. Hermione isn't too stuffy to wear a pink hoodie and punch dumb boys in the face. And Ron is definitely less cool than Harry because, Harry got this cool tracksuit thing and Ron is... Well, that's a turbo bad sweater, though. He tried to direct the kids to interact more, grabbing for each other in scary scenes, start to hint at blossoming romances, and basically make everything about the story of a bunch of wizard kids actually pay attention to that keyword, care. So the first step in my own personal hyperbole is to say that Harry Potter wouldn't be the behemoth that it is without Cuarón coming in and batting third, proactively scoring the first 2 films base hits by hitting that shit out of the park. He set the franchise up for global domination. Every course correction this film needed to become the worldwide success that it is happened in this movie. And that's all surface level. It was the first film to greatly change up the structure of the films by repurposing elements from previous entries. The Whomping Willow from the Chamber of Secrets is back to show us season transitions, instead of sticking to the book series in the first 2 films' rigid adherence to a year in the life of Hogwarts-like structure. Which is why every film after Azkaban also felt like, a film, because this is the one that said, hey, it's okay to trim the fat and deliver on a film instead of just filming the book and calling it a movie. But think about it this way, let's play word association. I say Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, and when I tried this on my friends, a great many of them mentioned Alfonso Cuarón within seconds. They are intrinsically linked for people that care about stuff like that, like me. If you like my show, there's a strong chance you also associate creators with their materials in this way. And allow me to use this to illustrate what I consider a glaring flaw in modern film adaptations of material like this. What is the first name that comes to your mind when I say Hunger Games: Catching Fire, Maze Runner: The Scorch Trials, Trinity Slayers: The Inner They, the Divergent series, Allegiant. Outside of the fact that I made one of those up, this is why I think all of the Me Too's in the young adult book adaptation game are falling short. They're not trusting anyone's individual vision. It's all climate-controlled and wholly disposable entertainment. This is the same logic that the film studio was operating under when they signed Chris Columbus to do all 7 movies. Studios don't want filmmakers developing too much of their own identity into the final product of franchises this large. Unless you're Marvel, where they decided to more or less replicate the Harry Potter process into their own film slate, taking chances on directors like James Gunn and scoring big when those gambles turn out to be pretty much the sole reason they're still in business, because Marvel stole their playbook. And even now, they're starting to try and conglomerate their visions the other way. Whedon's out. You served your country well, John Swabin. They lost Edgar Wright from what unquestionably been a better Ant-Man film than whatever we got from, Peyton Reed. I forgot. That's kind of telling. The person directing the films in the Marvel universe are starting to matter less and less, and that's a little scary. And I'm gonna make a big statement here. We never would have entertained the foresight to toss an untested person like Joss Whedon at a film the size of the Avengers without the foresight to toss an untested person like Alfonso Cuarón in Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. Boom. I don't think Joss Whedon's Avengers would have existed if not for the third Harry Potter film. It's just me. I think they're linked in that way, and if you go through all the genre films that existed in between there, I think you can make the same case. It started here. Everything you love about movies right now started here. And by using any of this logic, you can begin to view the lens of today's entertainment through the lens of the Harry Potter film series and the fact that they were forced into creating a film universe with different directors, crafting their own varied visions of the world while simultaneously telling one long story. That's pretty huge. I have trouble finding an angle from which I could undersell the significance of that, so I won't. So here is a list of reasons this movie is amazing in ways you might not have thought about. 1. In the opening scene of the film, every time that Harry makes his Lumos spell get way too bright, a dog barks from outside. That's Sirius Black, trying to warn him to cut it out using the magic outside of Hogwarts. In fact, all of the dog barks at the beginning are Sirius. 2. To establish Harry as a bit of a different character this time around, he much more strongly stands up for himself with the Dursleys.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I've been beaten loads of times.
Being wry and sarcastic at first, but later blowing up his aunt, and then she floats away and her body count in Harry Potter film starts right there. 3. The overall tone of the film is just absolutely demented. I don't think you can undersell the ruthless madness by which Cuaron reconstructs the universe. The quill riding on its own, the glass becoming full when the waiter's wiping down the table, the maid in the hallway, the hummingbird sequence leading to its glorious and untimely demise, this very practically shot door, all of the shots of the Dementors outside of Hogwarts, this absolutely quintessential shot of Professor Snape entering a classroom. 4. When Trelawney guesses Harry's birthday, she guesses midwinter, and he responds, which the movie uses to show her as a bit of a crackpot, but that's not entirely true. Most of her guesses in the end do come true, but the reason this one specifically is wrong, which meant that the birthday she was sensing was Voldemort's, not Harry's.
Foresight level
Dementor did! Also, she says he has the Grim and basically says that Voldemort is gonna kill him, and you know, he does do that 5 films later, so she's kind of right. 5. Cinematography with purpose. Sure, Cuarón has never really been shy with a camera, but I actually consider this his most beautiful photographic work. I'm sorry, children of men, boys and girls and girl boys and boys and girl guns and point boys and they girls. No, for real, this is how you take the reins of a franchise and dictate its future. There is magic in literally every scene, and it's always a little bit dangerous. And for the first time, the magic world is keeping us at bay a bit. Just look at the design of Dumbledore's introduction. With Richard Harris's passing, the role of Dumbledore was picked up by Michael Gambon for the first time, and Cuarón constructs his scene accordingly. Watch as it moves around, always keeping him at the center of the Harry Potter universe, but surrounding him with all the characters we associate with the world. It's a recast character, but you barely even notice because the construction of this scene dictates that Dumbledore, Michael Gambon, is literally at the center of the universe. In fact, watch this movie again, watch every scene, and see if you notice anything. There is a shocking lack of total cuts in this film. Many of the scenes take place over shot that last for 8 to 10 seconds a piece, which is difficult for a lot of reasons, and that's not even factoring in that you're doing long takes with the child act that have pretty much all the dialogue in the film. And can we talk about the Boggart scene? Can we talk about the Boggart? It starts the scene by flying into the mirror, which is cool, but bear in mind that that means you started the scene in mirror world, not the real world. Only when it flies back through the mirror at the end, ending on this shot of Harry, scar on the wrong side, emblems on the wrong side. That is just such an interesting magical touch on its own. We as the audience experience magic that the characters on screen cannot as we travel between the regular and mirror universe. 6. This is the last Harry Potter film that John Williams did the music for, and it's perfect. All of it. It's got that warm comfort of a Williams score you're accustomed to, and of course Buck Beak's amazing theme. But if I'm gonna hand it to a piece from this film, I gotta go with the Shakespeare Frog Choir's opening number because it's a frog choir. It's a frog choir! 7. Cuarón did a lot for the geography of the school. He gave serious thought to how it all fit together, how the rooms are joined, and where things are on the grounds. He introduces us to so many new things and connects up the pathways of so many old ones. Figuring these things out was so integral to the follow-up films, I don't think the work here can be understated. He made Hogwarts a physical place, not a backdrop. I'm out of gas and I haven't even scratched the surface. You should just watch this movie again. It's a genius! That's not gonna be a good catchphrase. I didn't even talk about the time travel, which is like the movie There's so many things layered into the fabric of this film, there's just not enough time in an episode to talk about all of it. Here, everyone go watch the film. I'll wait here, and then you guys come back and list all the stuff I had to skip over that you noticed. Awesome plan, Michael. Okay, so I underestimated the difficulty of this episode by like 1,000%. I hope the hard work I put into this episode showed in the end product, because this was actually substantially more difficult to make than pretty much any other episode ever. Whether that was obvious or, you guys decide. I don't know. I just work here. I'm YouTube boy. I've been working on this episode for like 7 days, and I'm so tired that I'm just gonna skip straight to the voting. Here you go. We got a Nolan. Yep, putting that back up. We got a Paraso. Surprise there, but I think not a surprise when you see what movie he directed. And an Abrams. I think this will make a pretty good episode. I'm curious what you guys think. Let me know what your vote is in the comments. And as always, please sub to the channel. That really, really does help a lot. Thanks for watching my Harry Potter celebration of Phil Collins. Thank you. Goodbye.